My name is Bryony and I'm the head of coaching here at Relish. And today we're talking about a very commonly requested topic, which is what is stonewalling? So stonewalling is one of the four horsemen of the apocalypse. The other ones are criticism, contempt, and defensiveness. And these were developed by some incredible relationship researchers, the Gottmans. So they have a research institute. They've researched literally thousands of couples, and they've looked at couples who ended up breaking up. They looked at couples who've been happily married for a long time. They look at couples who've kind of gotten to the brink and then come back. So the four horsemen, of which stonewalling is one of them, is the development of that research. And essentially these are all predictors of relationship conflict and also of a couple that's perhaps about to break up. So when we think about stonewalling, it's really a dysfunctional communication strategy, which generally involves one of the partners, or possibly both, but normally it's one, going completely silent and shutting down emotionally. So kind of like a blank wall, hence the stonewalling. You might have seen it in other people, so maybe at work or at school or with family members, and essentially it just looks like they're not even listening and they're not even paying attention to what's happening. Or they might be making eye contact, but there's no emotion on their face. The interesting thing about this is when they've put up people who are stonewalling, so they've been observing a couple that's having an argument in a laboratory setting and they've hooked them up to body monitors that measure heart and pulse rate. The people who are stonewalling are often actually having a whole lot of emotions. So on the outside it looks like they're not having any emotions, but they're actually completely emotionally overwhelmed or flooded. And this is actually telling us that for some people, their way of dealing with really strong emotions is not to yell or scream or get physical. It's actually to kind of sit there and shut down. So if you think about a computer that has too many windows open, it's sort of a similar process. Often people who use this strategy, they maybe don't mean to, but it's developed over time, or they might have learnt it from, people around them. They're generally not people who are very good at expressing their emotions either. So they might feel that this is really the only way that they can actually calm down, or this is the best way for them to deal with conflict, is to kind of sit there and wait for it to pass. Of course, as a partner, it's really frustrating because, of course, when you try to talk about something complicated or you get emotional and your partner shuts down, it kind of ends the conversation and it can actually cause you to escalate even more as well. So again, this is sometimes intentional. So some people deliberately shut down and stonewall as a way to manage conflict, whereas for other people, it's more of a kind of defense mechanism, and it's not something that they're too aware of or that they can control. So one of the biggest questions we get is, how can I manage stonewalling, either as myself, as a stonewaller, or as the partner who, of a partner of a stonewaller who's finding it's really frustrating to be in this situation? So here's 6 tips that we really recommend. The first one is to ask for a break during conflicts. So if we have that hypothesis that a lot of the time stonewalling is just due to being emotionally overwhelmed, as the stonewaller, you can actually notice perhaps that you're starting to get overwhelmed. So you might be getting sweaty palms, your heart might be beating, you might be getting this urge to kind of shut down. Asking your partner for a break and saying, this is really important to talk about, but I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed. Can we, reconvene in 10 minutes or 20 minutes when I've calmed down? So it's really important to be able to talk to your partner, obviously, before this happens and say, I want to address this stonewalling. I'm going to ask you for a break when we're having these conversations, and I'd love it if you can listen to me and we can figure this out. The second tip is to acknowledge that you're not the fixer in the relationship. So this is for the person who is the partner of the stonewaller. And it's really just to acknowledge that it's not really your role to fix the stonewalling. It's not your role to kind of take on all the emotions, and talking to your partner about what you would like to happen in that moment. So how would you like to have a conversation about this? It's not one person that has to take on all the responsibility of figuring it out. It should be both of you. So what would you each like to do to help manage this conversation or this conflict? Step number 3 is lead with empathy. So it's really important for both people to feel empathy for the other person. And when we're stressed or overwhelmed, it's actually really hard to feel empathy. So we're in survival mode where empathy isn't really something that comes out that much. So as the partner of a stonewaller, just see if you can remember or keep that sort of fact within your mind, that perhaps my partner isn't just shutting down because they want to annoy me. Perhaps this is the only way they know to deal with, overwhelming emotions, or this is a very old defense mechanism that isn't serving them anymore. Tip number 4 is to trust yourself. So if you're feeling like this is maybe a deliberate thing, or if you're feeling like you're not getting through, that's probably an important thing. And in that case, it's probably helpful to talk to a professional about how you're feeling. Because if you're coming up against that wall and you're not actually seeing any improvements, even though you're trying to kind of work with your partner who's stonewalling, it might need a little bit more work. Tip number 5 is prioritize self-care. So again, it can be a bit tough as the partner of someone who's stonewalling, because you can often feel like you're not being heard, you can feel frustrated, you can feel like you're doing a lot of the work. So in that situation, see if you can prioritize self-care, whether that's talking to a therapist, talking to a friend, really looking after yourself if you're having these relationship issues that don't seem to be getting solved, whether that's through sleep, food, exercise, really kind of making sure that you're in the best place mentally and physically, and then you'll have the resources to deal with whatever relationship issue this is. And tip number 6, and we've sort of touched on this a little bit in the other tips, is to talk to a professional at Relish. So like I mentioned in the introduction, a lot of the time stonewalling is reflective of a bigger issue in the relationship. Maybe the dynamic has escalated, that one person is the one who gets emotional and tries to solve things, and the stonewaller is the one who kind of sits there and gets talked to, or doesn't necessarily interact or respond. So if there's a dynamic between you and your partner like that, it's really important to have the support of a professional to kind of unpack that and model better communication styles. Even if your relationship is in a really bad place because of stonewalling, a coach at Relish can really help with that as well. So they can talk you through your options in the relationship, they can help you figure out ways to reconnect, they can help you figure out even a time to have an important conversation. And at Relish, we offer a great service called a breakthrough call, which is when you can talk to a coach for 30 minutes just to sort of focus on the one topic and really get some movement there. We also offer text coaching, which is fantastic, so you can talk to your coach as often as you'd like, really about any issue at all. And they also assign you content on the areas that you're interested in. So perhaps you're really wanting to improve the communication between yourself and your partner. Your coach can work with both of you towards this goal, and you can actually have these sessions together where you talk things through. So in summary, if you are experiencing stonewalling in your relationship, I really feel for you. It can be something that can make you feel very lonely and also overwhelmed, but I can tell you that it's something that can be really worked on, and once it kind of disappears, it's unlikely to reappear as well, because both partners have sort of learnt about it and figured out alternative ways of communicating. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. We'd love it if people leave comments on our video. If you like the video, please do so. You can subscribe to our channel. We put up new content regularly. And that's it from me. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.